Hello and welcome. Our presentation will provide you with a comprehensive overview of both issues and resources related to student transportation at the district level. We will discuss topics such as outsourcing versus managing your own fleet, other ways buses can meet community needs and support student learning, bus driver shortages, and finally, DESE transportation resources, funding information, and board policies. So I'm going to turn it over to Tyler to discuss DESE resources.
Hello, my name is Tyler. I'm going to quickly introduce to you some helpful DESE resources for your potential service as a superintendent or administrator. So first of all, I'll start with the DESE School Transportation Administrator's Handbook. And within this PDF, this guide contains pretty much a huge amount of information on anything you need to know in regards to school transportation. It's divided into sections, so it's easy to find what you're looking for. Section 1 contains school transportation administrator models, which contains the responsibilities of the school board members and administrators, and then eventually coming up with a plan so that you can take some of those responsibilities off of the school board and an administrator can solve those issues. You have Section 3, which contains revised statutes of Missouri excerpts. And some of the big things there include child protection, reformation, health and welfare, special schools and instruction, and budget and financing. Finally, in the 4th section, you have the Code of State Regulation excerpts, which would also help you with other hardships and specific needs. The second link I'd like to share with you is a list of DESE frequently asked questions, and you can find this on the DESE webpage. And just to give you an example of some of the questions you might find on here, what is the application for state transportation aid? How is bus ridership tracked? What must bus contracts include? And who must be transported? Who can be transported, etc. So there's a great list of information here for you to consider as well. And again, this is available on the DESE webpage. The next link, which I will not open, but it will be available on our group handout that will be posted to the discussion board, is the Transportation Aid Calculator. It's essentially a spreadsheet that contains the formulas in which you can calculate transportation aid for your district. Very similar to the assignment that you may have had in the school finance project. Following that is the board policies, and we have a list of board policies for BALIS, including bus conduct, bus scheduling, and the transportation procedures. And finally, the last link I want to share with you is the American School Bus Council, and it's basically an organization formed in 2006 to educate parents, school officials, lawmakers, and the public about safety for school buses. And one key point I want to address on here that relates to our problem later on in our presentation is relating to COVID-19. And obviously safety is on everybody's mind when we talk about transporting kids. And some of the key points that are addressed here, and there's a great video you can watch as well, but discusses driver testing, so drivers have their temperature taken, discusses masks and hand sanitizing, and of course, disinfecting buses so that your child has a safe ride to school and it lowers the chance of infection for the coronavirus. So that covers my 4 sources that will help you get started on an overarching knowledge of bus transportation. I'm now going to turn it over to outsourcing.
Hello, my name is Nathan Williams, and I'm going to talk to you about outsourcing your transportation costs. Outsourcing transportation can be a fiscally responsible way to drive down a district's budget, but only if that district makes sure that they have their ducks in a row before they sign the contract. The benefits are that the district is not responsible for the cost of the buses or the drivers. However, many of the companies that perform this work are large national or even multinational companies, which can mean that their responsiveness to the communities they serve can be somewhat lacking and, depending on the language in their contract, can turn out to be more burdensome and costly if they are instead of if the district owned the buses outright. A couple considerations to consider when outsourcing. 1, what's in your contract language? How restrictive is it? And what exactly is the company offering to pay for? Be sure that maintenance costs and overtime pay are not to be incurred by the district. Look for hidden fees. Some districts have been hit by extra management charges that are not specifically spelled out in their contract, and this has caused some districts to actually lose money when outsourcing their transportation. Outsourcing does not relieve districts of all administrative burdens. In fact, most companies will require that the district maintain a point person to handle outsourcing concerns, and that can be another cost to the district. And outsourcing can also make it harder for districts to respond to situations in the community. If that company is national, getting a hold of somebody to make the necessary changes can be a challenge. And all of this is not to say that outsourcing is a bad idea. Rather, the district should remain knowledgeable about the subject and be very aware of what their contract actually stipulates. And now we'll move on to how buses have helped distance learning with Brittany Stevens.
Hi everyone, I'm Brittany Stevens, and my topic is about how buses have really came in to play a huge role while we were facing the COVID-19 pandemic that hit our nation. The biggest things that our school buses did was they delivered lunches and learning packets to students no matter how far they were from the school district. This came in handy with them being the positive face and interaction that our students are used to seeing twice a day, just to have that normalcy and to get that food that they may not have, and those learning packets for kids who do not have Wi-Fi at home. On the other hand, buses have also become mobile hotspots, Wi-Fi for students who do not have internet at home, because those jetpacks that districts purchase, if they don't have phone signal at their house, they usually do not work. And so these buses have become the way for students to continue their educational journey from their houses and be on the same playing level as students who live in town that have internet. And now I'm going to pass it on to bus driver shortages.
Hi, I'm Amy Ruzicka, and I'm going to speak to an issue that's facing districts across the country. Pre-COVID, a jobs-rich economy made it difficult for school districts and bus companies to compete with other jobs due to the extensive training required, background checks, and fingerprinting for only $16 an hour. That's about $5 less per hour than other jobs that require a CDL license, such as a transit bus driver or truck driver. Coupled with what some bus drivers report is clientele who are difficult to work with, such as student behaviors, difficult hours that are not always family friendly, such as early starts and often late activities, such as extracurriculars. And now most recently with COVID-19, some districts are reporting issues with attracting bus drivers due to safety concerns, and then also being able to compete with unemployment benefits, which can be more lucrative than bus driver pay. So I'm now going to turn it over to Brittany to speak to her interview about bus driver shortages.
Hello, my name is Brittany France. I had the opportunity to interview my transportation director. She says that it is definitely a difficult time right now to keep bus drivers and to hire them. She feels like our district is doing a pretty good job. We are advertising on a school bus and on social media. We also have a pretty new fleet of buses that she is extremely proud of. So it makes drivers want to come drive a new bus instead of an old one. We also have a new maintenance area where they can work on the buses right here, and we don't have to transport them somewhere else. We also have a nice new staffing lounge as well, where bus drivers can hang out throughout the day. She also thinks, being a respectful boss and working with the employees, if they have second jobs or with children, that also helps with the recruitment. So she thinks we are doing a fairly well job of keeping them. And now turning it over to Nathan for the problem.
You're the superintendent of a small suburban school district facing a major bus driver shortage. The human resource director reported that many of the bus drivers shared that they do not want to continue driving at this time because they do not feel safe during COVID and make more money on unemployment. To further complicate the matter, Your Chief Financial Officer recently shared concerns about a state budget shortfall, which includes transportation funding.